Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 146 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of turning pop culture obsessions into what looks suspiciously like homework. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. And if you've been enjoying the show, please like, follow, and subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and by joining our Facebook group. I'm Greg Dickinson, and today on the show, we're kicking off the first in a series of Star Wars conversations featuring my English classes. And today, we have Jay Krebs. This is a project designed to answer one important question. Can obsessing over Star Wars actually be educational? Surprisingly, yes.
Hi.
Good morning.
What does the Force really represent?
The Force actually has a few different meanings. So there's a couple of different types of interpretations of the Force. There's the living Force, and then there's the cosmic Force. So the living Force is what's basically in all of us. It is the ability to connect to each other and the ability to be able to utilize that for whatever kind of powers, sorts of things. And then there's the cosmic Force, which is what guides things around us. So you can kind of think of it, I think, as our personal impact on things versus the way that things happen in the universe. But it's it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. So it could be spiritual, it could be physical, it can be emotional. Obviously, there's power to it. So the way that you use the Force is definitely a very important decision when it comes to your ultimate path and things, I guess you could say. So does that answer your question, or did you have an add-on to that?
No, that answers my question. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Good morning.
Why doesn't Yoda want to train Luke at first?
Well, Yoda is very grounded in the old ways, I guess you could say. He's obviously a being that is 800 years old, and he's been around and he's seen a lot. And he understands that Luke is, when he says too old to start the training, he is. So I assume you guys watched The Empire Strikes Back, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So when he says too old to start the training, he is. I think that's for a couple of different reasons. One is because obviously, when you learn something young, it sticks with you better. I mean, imagine if you tried to learn how to ride a bike when you were 25, okay? Might not stick as well as when you learned when you were maybe 7 or 8 years old. So the younger you learn something, the easier it is to mold you into the kind of learning that you need to have. So I think that's part of it. And I think the other part of it too is he was afraid. He didn't want to admit it. But he was afraid. He was afraid because he knew who Luke was in terms of his lineage and parentage. And he was a little bit apprehensive, I guess, in taking that on and seeing that cycle potentially repeat again. So, and I don't think maybe he wanted to be the one responsible for it either. So I think there's a lot of reasons, but those are just a few.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why does Luke think they're still good in Vader?
Because Luke's just good himself. I just think that Luke intrinsically believes that there's good in everyone. And I also believe that because he ultimately came from Vader, that he says, well, I'm a good person. So there's got to be some good in this guy too. It's got to be there. He was a Jedi. He did all of these amazing things. He helped all of these people. He just got put on the wrong path. And so I just think that he believed in that kernel of hope. And of course, Luke, his other parent as well. I don't know. Have you guys seen any of the other movies, or do you know of the parentage of Luke beyond Vader?
A little bit.
Okay, because I don't want to spoil anything if there's, if there's things that you guys haven't seen yet. But so I think, and Luke being a hope, he just exudes that hope for the entire galaxy. And Vader obviously is part of that. He just doesn't want to give up on him.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was Luke right to leave his training early?
Ooh, that's a really loaded question, right? So we all make decisions based upon sometimes our feelings, sometimes what our gut is telling us, and obviously sometimes our values and what we feel is right and what we feel is the best thing to do. So I think for Luke, I don't know if it's a question of was he right or wrong, but what was the best thing to do at that point? Were there some consequences to him leaving at that point? Of course, absolutely. But had he not done that, think of the repercussions, think of that ripple effect that could have happened if he would have said, okay, yeah, I'm just going to hold up here in this swamp and I'm going to forget about my friends and I'm going to forget about everything else that's going on when I know that I can potentially make a difference. I don't think he would have been able to live with himself if he wouldn't have left, And so I think that is a hard choice. And I think that reflects sometimes what we face in our own lives. What is the best thing to do for ourselves, for our families, for our community versus, what is maybe not the best thing to do. And that's different for everybody, I think. So it turned out the way that it turned out for a reason, the force willing, as we were just talking about the force. So I know that was kind of like a wishy-washy answer to your question, but what do you think?
I think he was in the right for leaving because I think they would have died.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they very well could have. That's for sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Why is Obi-Wan willing to sacrifice himself?
Oh, because that's Obi-Wan. He's always about the greater good. He is always about putting himself in positions where he can do the greatest good. And I think that is a big part of, he knew the bigger picture. You know what I mean? Like he knew he could do actually more good by sacrificing himself as opposed to, being there and doing things in the embodiment of a person as opposed to working maybe behind the scenes in the force. And I also think he needed to do it so that Luke could go on and be who he was, that he needed to let go, just as someday your parents are going to let go and let you out into the real world. They would love to be with you forever, but there comes a time where you also have to do things on your own. So I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but those are just a few.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
How would the story be different from the Empire's point of view?
Ooh, you know what? I have a 24-year-old son, and we talk about this so often, right? So there's always, as even Obi-Wan says, from a certain point of view. Exactly. So I think that there are people in the Empire that do what they do because they think it's the best thing, right? I mean, sometimes people don't do bad things because they think they're bad. They do them because they think that they're actually contributing to something. So, I mean, think about all the people that were on the Death Star. Do you believe that every single one of those people was evil?
No.
Right. I mean, they bought into a truth that they felt that was something that the entire galaxy could benefit from. So, I think that from the Empire's point of view, they look at the rebels as being this band of people that are trying to upset what they've built in terms of peace and justice and protection in the galaxy, and that the Empire feels that they're doing these things for the greater good of the people that they serve. So, again, if you look at it from different points of view, it's really hard to defend one versus the other. But obviously we're getting things from the point of view of the Jedi and the rebels and, and. Do I agree with what the Empire did? Absolutely not. I mean, there's a lot of evil there, but I think evil exists in every construct, no matter what you look at. So it's, yeah. So I think if you look at it from their point of view, they think that they were actually doing something for the greater good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
How does the Emperor control people?
Ooh, lots of ways. He is wicked smart, man. I mean, he knows how to work a room. He knows how to work people. He knows how to get people's loyalty, and he doesn't even always have to use the Force to do that. So he is at first he was very charismatic, right? So people looked at him and they thought, "Wow, this is a really great leader." And then obviously as he, morphed into who we know as the Emperor, he became a completely different person. So I think for a lot of what he's doing now is just completely out of fear. So if you don't do this, this will happen. I mean, think about it. Darth Vader is afraid of the Emperor. You can tell. He respects him and he wants to do the Emperor's bidding because, Vader's got a whole other suitcase full of issues that he needs to unpack. But, in the end, I think a lot of it is that fear, intimidation, and also a little bit of maybe that forced coercion too. And so people just don't want to do anything against that because they are afraid.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What makes the Empire feel so powerful and scary?
Oh, so many things, right? I mean, they've got a laser that can blow up an entire planet. So going back to what, I was just saying, they have the intimidation factor, I think. And I mean, you think about the stormtroopers. I mean, imagine if a whole set of stormtroopers came marching into your school right now, right? That would feel a little intimidating, and and especially because they're behind masks and because you can't see that real person underneath, and you really have no way to humanize them, and you have no way to know that they actually are a person underneath there. So, I mean, they may have been robots because we can't see really who they are. So I think that dehumanization of how they do things is a big part of that for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Why does Vader save Luke at the end?
Oh, because it's his son, of course, right? So, I mean, he's always had that good in him. He needed Luke, as you guys were just asking about earlier. He needed someone to believe in him. And for Vader / Anakin, his entire life, that's all he's ever wanted is someone to believe in him. And he's always wanted to do good, but he was led down this path of evil through, let's face it, it wasn't all because of things that were done to him. He made some awful choices. And so I think in the end, he wanted to atone for that, and he wanted to make up for that. And he wanted to prove to his son that, you know what, I am the person that you believed that I am. And I can be redeemed. And I want to thank you for that. So, so I think for Luke, that was a big part of that. And he even said, my favorite scene in all of Star Wars is in Return of the Jedi, when they are on that bridge and Luke says to Vader, I can sense in you, you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father. And Vader says, that name means nothing for me. And Luke's like, no, dude, like, I know you. I can see into your soul. This is going to happen, and we're going to make it happen. And it did. And that's love in a nutshell right there. So it all comes down to love.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have some awesome questions. Wow.
Why does Han come back to help at the end?
Well, I think it's because, once again, Han kind of felt like he found his people. And for me personally, there's two things about Star Wars that everybody always asks me, why do you love Star Wars so much? I mean, hey, the lightsabers are cool, right? The Jedi are cool. All this stuff is really awesome. The fight scenes, the battle scenes, they're all really cool. But the two things that it comes down to for me are family and hope. And Han needed a family. He needed people that believed in him as well and didn't just see him as a scoundrel. I mean, think about why he and Chewie have been together for so long. That is his family. And I truly believe that Han, for all of his gruff, for all of his, oh yeah, whatever kind of ideology that he seems to try to want to have, that's also kind of his protection, because he never really wanted to let anybody in. So I think he finally realized, hey, these are my people. I can make a difference. These people actually mean something to me. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to help them. So he found his family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What would have happened if Luke joined Vader?
Ooh, wow. If Luke would have joined Vader, things would have gotten really dark, right? So I think that would have, as we talked about in the episode 4, A New Hope, that hope would have obviously died. And so who could have stepped up to the mantle next? Probably Leia, right? Because that's his sister. So I think that things probably would have gotten really bad for a while, and especially if the entire plan of Vader wanting to overthrow the Emperor actually worked and Luke actually did help him. But I think that there would be a point to where they both kind of end up looking at each other and say, what did we just do? And what was it all for? And so maybe together, I mean, here's my hope that maybe together they would have broken the cycle. But it definitely, no matter any way you look at it, it took having the Emperor being overthrown, regardless. That had to happen. So I think if Luke would have joined Vader, it would have eventually happened. It just would have taken a little longer and a little bit of a darker path between that time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What makes Leia different from a typical princess?
Oh, everything, right? Okay, so Leia was my first role model growing up. So I was actually a little girl myself when A New Hope came out. So I was 7 when A New Hope came out. And so for Leia, she was the first person that I'd ever seen that had the title of princess, but completely acted so much different, right? So you guys have a lot of those sorts of examples now. I mean, if you think about, different princesses, even in the Disney franchise, a lot of them, they have the title, but they're tough chicks, right? So they kind of break that norm. But I think for Leia, she's kind of the best of both worlds, because yes, she's royalty, but she doesn't use that royalty in a way that puts her above other people. She doesn't think that she's better than other people. She doesn't think that she is above doing the things that other people should be doing to support the society. So she gets right into the middle of everything, right? She's tough. She knows how to take care of herself. She wouldn't do anything that she wouldn't ask somebody else to do. She would do it too. So she leads by example. And I also believe that she truly loves her people. She doesn't put herself up here, right? So she's right there with everybody that she leads. And so I think that taking that role is what really sets her apart. But yet she can still be regal. She can still be beautiful. She can still be feminine. She can still do all of the things that a quote unquote princess can do. And so I think that is, rising above a lot of expectations and just doing what's right and what's good and what's brave, sometimes even in the face of your own fear, is what sets her apart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What does the Empire represent in real life?
Ooh, wow. It can represent a lot of things. I mean, I think that there's a certain level of values that it could represent, in terms of, if you look at it from, sort of that metaphysical sense, that the Empire can represent things that, and I hate to use the word bad, because like I was saying earlier to your classmate, if you look at it from a certain point of view, there are certain things that could definitely be defended about the Empire, whether we want to admit that or not. But then obviously there are other things that are just completely, and I don't know if evil is necessarily the word, but it is definitely along those lines, because it controls, it intimidates, it coerces, it rules by fear. So all of those things are definitely not something that any of us want to live underneath. So I think in real life that could represent a lot of different unfortunate situations that are happening around the world in different governments and in different societies and that type of thing, maybe even in families. So, I mean, if you look at it at the core, you can look at it as unfortunately like an abusive family situation as well. So I think that there's a lot of things that it can represent in that way. And if we really dissect it from that angle, you can apply a lot of those things to a lot of things that you see in everyday life. So I know that was kind of like a cop-out sort of a question, but does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What kind of leader is Leia?
Oh, like I was just saying to your classmate, I think she leads by example, right? She's very empathetic. She wants to try to put herself into a situation where she can truly see how another person is feeling, and she can see what they're going through so that she can understand how best to help them. And I also think that, she was the one that talks about hope, right? Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're your only hope, kind of thing. And what does this represent? It represents hope. So I think that Leia, and especially as she goes on in her own life, that's one thing that she never gives up. And like I was just saying earlier, family and hope. And Leia definitely embodies hope. And one of my favorite phrases that is in another movie, without spoilers, but it's in a movie. Hope is like the sun. If you only believe it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night. And I truly believe that Leia led by that example, and she truly believed that, and other people saw that in her. And so that was the kind of leader that she was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How does family affect the story?
Oh, so much. What did I just say? Family and hope, right? So family can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. So you've got, your nuclear family where you may have parents and a child. You have your extended family with aunts and uncles and cousins and nieces and nephews. I mean, your dog is part of your family potentially, right? If you have a pet, they're part of your family. But then there's also that found family. So like I was saying with Han, he found his people. Chewie, I mean, he's a Wookiee. Does he look anything like any of the other people that he's around? Heck no, right? He's this big walking carpet, as Leia said. But yet he's part of the family. So, and I think that family means more than blood. But in Luke and Vader's case, obviously there was a direct connection to that. But I mean, the Jedi were all family to each other. Luke and Obi-Wan were family. I mean, he kind of, is Uncle Ben, essentially, right? And also just the fact that Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru took Luke in as a baby because he was family. So, once again, I just think that family is a huge interconnected part of that. And what we pass on to the next generation becomes incredibly important. So I think that was also, going back to what your other classmate had asked, with Vader, I think he wanted to leave a legacy that he could be proud of too, in terms of his family. So with Luke, that made it possible for him to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could Lando have done things differently?
Oh, Lando. We love Lando, right? He's just the dude. Oh yeah, he could have done things differently for sure. But in the end, he proved that he was there for them, and he proved that he came through, right? So, he and Han had kind of a really dicey past, both literally and figuratively speaking. But I think that, yeah, there's some things that Lando definitely could have done differently. But again, in the end, he came back and he proved himself. And that's really what matters, is that people can make mistakes, they can admit those mistakes, and then they can atone for those mistakes. And I think that that's ultimately what Lando did, even though he put his friends obviously in a really bad situation.
Okay. How is Hope shown in the movies?
Oh, again, I was just talking about this, right? So hope is everywhere. Hope is within that small little spark that we get up every morning and we believe that things can be better. So I think that that is, again, just part of that whole message, especially with Leia, that she truly believes in her core. And I also believe that, Yoda and Obi-Wan believed that too. That boy is our only hope. But yet Yoda, what did he say? No, there is another. There is another Skywalker. So there's always something out there that we can grasp onto, that hope is never truly lost, that there's always a kernel of it somewhere if we're willing to look for it and we're willing to make things better. So I think that that's a huge message about hope that we can take away from the movies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What role do droids like C-3PO and R2-D2 play?
Oh, I love droids. They're my favorite. I mean, I always latch on to at least one in every single one of the movies. So I think for the droids, they're kind of like, and I don't want to make it sound so impersonal, but they're kind of like the family pets in a lot of ways, in that they are there to guide and be companions and aid and that type of thing. And obviously for C-3PO, he was a protocol droid. So he could speak over 6 million languages, right? And so he was able to work with them, even though he was annoying sometimes. I mean, let's face it, but he could work with them to give them things that they couldn't get anywhere else. And as far as R2 goes, I mean, he is probably the most loyal droid ever, right? And he also has a lot of secrets. So there's a really cool piece of material out there that shows the entire saga from R2-D2's point of view. And it's so cool. So I think for a lot of people, the droids represent not only a companion and information, but, also something that they obviously couldn't do without. Guess you could look at them as tools. I mean, astromechs fit into the little sockets on the fighters to help with things. I mean, R2-D2 definitely made a difference for Luke until he was blown up and we felt really bad. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I always have a special place in my heart for droids. I mean, did you feel like you got attached to any of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, which ones?
Probably C-3PO.
Yeah, he's really cool. He's really cool. And honestly, he doesn't get enough credit, right? He really doesn't. And so I think that's cool that you really like him too. Does that answer your question though?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
What does a story show about good versus evil?
Oh goodness. I mean, again, it's hard to say because on the surface it looks so black and white, right? You've got the Empire on one side that's doing all of these terrible, terrible things. And then you've got these people that are trying to fight it. You've got the rebels, you've got the Jedi, you've got the smugglers that have turned good guys kind of thing. And so you see this real black and white kind of division. But I think when you analyze it a little bit more, there's a lot of gray area in there as well. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Star Wars is that it constantly makes us question what is good, what is evil, what is the right thing to do, and what could be the motivations behind why this person did this, or what is redemption, right? Because I mean, Vader, we're introduced to him and he is just the epitome of evil. And we automatically look at this guy and go, oh my gosh, this is like the worst being in the entire galaxy. But then he eventually becomes redeemed and he is sorry for what he's done and he comes back to the good side. So I think there's a lot of that gray area that Star Wars enables us to say, okay, let's take a little bit of a harder look at this and see what's really going on before we judge the situation so harshly, perhaps. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
How do small choices lead to big outcomes?
Oh gosh, you talk about that butterfly effect, right? So, I mean, this happens to us every day. I mean, we wake up in the morning and we decide, whether or not we want to wear shorts or we want to wear pants. And then depending on what the weather is, that can lead to us feeling uncomfortable. And then if we're uncomfortable, then we might get grumpy with people. And if we're grumpy with people, it can affect our relationships. So I think that that's the same thing that happens in Star Wars as well, is that, like you said, these small choices that everybody is making is leading to these huge outcomes. And, unfortunately, there's never any way to fully predict what those small choices will end up leading to until we live through it. And then sometimes those big choices, or those big outcomes, I should say, aren't always what we anticipated. And so we have to pick up the pieces and say, okay, this didn't go the way that we planned. So what could we have done differently? What worked? What didn't work? And then make better decisions later. So, but yeah, I think all of these little things that happened are kind of like, breadcrumbs, I guess you could say, in the grand path of things. And so, yeah, I mean, if this would have, there's a whole thing out there called like Star Wars What If, like what if this would have happened? Then how would this have been differently? And you can really go down a rabbit hole with that. So yeah, so there's always going to be those big outcomes from small decisions for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How does family affect the story?
Oh, like I was saying before, family is everything, right? So, you've got all of this lineage of Anakin and Darth Vader, and then, Luke and Leia and that type of thing. So, the family can be, again, whether or not it's blood related versus your found family. I think that's truly the nucleus of this entire story, and how do we interact with people, and how does that actually happen? Because I mean, you look at all of Star Wars and you look at all the prequels and the sequels, and even like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Clone Wars. Have you watched the Clone Wars series? Yeah, I mean, it's all about family too. I mean, even just the way that the Jedi are set up, they don't believe in attachments. I don't know how far you guys have gotten into all of this, but but you still have your Jedi master with your Padawan. That's essentially a family if you look at it. You've got, your person that is kind of like the parent to the younger person that's learning from that parent type of thing. So I think family is present in all of Star Wars, no matter how you look at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So I got a question for you. What do you think happened to Luke's mom?
What do I think happened to her?
Yeah, and where do you think she is if she's alive?
Well, I know just based upon the actual story where she is, so I don't want to spoil any of that for you at this point, but I don't know how much am I allowed to say, Mr. Dickinson?
But
I don't want to spoil
watched
it.
the original trilogy so far, so I'm going to encourage you to watch the prequel movies.
Yes, okay. That's what I would say as well. It's a great question, but like I said, I don't want to spoil things for you because it is a very, very powerful story, and I love the backstories of people, like just understanding where people came from and how did they end up at the point where they are right now. So that's your homework for the summer, is watch episodes 1, 2, and 3. So get out, on Disney Plus. I don't know if you have the streaming service, but Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, and you will not be disappointed. That's for sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we have time for one more.
Okay. Sorry we didn't get to everybody. Am I going too long on the answers, I guess?
Hi.
Hi.
What kind of inner conflicts does Darth Vader have?
Oh, so many, right? So, I mean, he's got this good versus evil going on, and that's an easy one to pick out. So he's got his his son on the one side that he finds out is still alive, and he, didn't even know this. And then on the other side, he's got this power and control and this promise of ruling the galaxy and having revenge on everyone that ever wronged him. So, I think that that's a big pull both ways on that. And it's really hard, I think, to put it into one category. But yeah, I think that's a big part of that for sure.
Thank you.
So I hope that answered the question. You're welcome.
So as we close, we just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, subscribe, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. And one last thing, our next episode continues our Star Wars 101 series with Din from F105 joining us.